Y'all, it is good to do nothing every now and then. In fact, it's really good to do nothing every now and then. But how do we do that? If you were to catch up with a friend and ask them how they're doing, what are you going to hear 9 times out of 10? Good, man, I'm just busy. This last year, I've caught myself using the B word, busy, just an absolutely filthy amount of times. Anytime someone asks me how I'm doing, good, man, just busy. Oh, dude, hanging in there, just busy. Busy as all get out, but hey, the Lord is still good. I've been using busy like it's the only word in my vocabulary. It got to the point recently where my wife and I had to take a step back and be like, okay, pause. What are we doing here? Granted, we have been busy. We both work in ministry. We both have projects on the side that we like to pour into. We both have small groups of people that we invest in. We both prioritize our lives every day. I travel like an Arctic tern. An Arctic tern, for those of you who might be asking yourself, what is an Arctic tern? An Arctic tern is a bird, and it's the animal that travels the most in all the animal kingdom. Now, I'm not a birder, but the idea of birding is actually sounding cooler by the day. You know you're getting old when the idea of birding doesn't sound absolutely insane. Regardless, point is, okay, we have been extremely busy. And I know a lot of us can relate. We're told to work hard, study hard, network here, hang out there, work out, run your Bible study. We're told to grind. We're told to do a million different things, but we're never simply told to do nothing. And so this is my video where I get to tell you to do just that. My brother, my sister, it is okay to do nothing every now and then. Once a week, in fact. In fact, it's more than okay to do nothing. To be human is to rest. To be human is to Sabbath. We need to keep the Sabbath holy, not only because it's one of the 10 commandments, top 10, y'all, but because we actually need the Sabbath to function well. And what do I mean by that? What even is the Sabbath? What do I mean by the Sabbath? The third commandment, one of the big 10, like I said, top 10, y'all, is to keep the Sabbath holy, to have a day where you don't work and you worship God. In the beginning, when God created the world, he rested on the 7th day. And by doing so, he wove a need into creation for a day of rest. It's a built-in rhythm. By design, we simply need a weekly Sabbath. So some of you guys might be familiar with John Mark Comer's book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And if not, it's a solid read. But in that book, Comer notes that during creation, God blessed 3 things: animals, humans, and the Sabbath. In other words, these 3 things have the ability to procreate. The Sabbath is meant to give us life. It's meant to fill us up so that we can then overflow out into the rest of our weeks. But we live in crazy times, y'all. We live in a world that threatens the Sabbath with chronic busyness, with a state of hurry. The grind is what we even call it. Corrie ten Boom once said that if the devil can't make you sin, he will distract you. And if you think about it, sin and busyness act in the same way. Sin cuts us off from our connection with God. It hurts our ability to fully commune with God. And busyness acts in the same way because busyness takes our minds away from God. And so if you're like me, which you're human, so you are, then your actions, your life, your heart all follow where your mind goes. So on the day that is supposed to be set aside for God and to contemplating his goodness, we often remain busy, taking our minds and therefore our lives even further away from God. Modern psychiatrists say that we as a society today in America tend to suffer from hurry sickness, literally. Being in a rush used to be an occasional necessity, but has now become our new norm. Father Ronald Rolheiser says that we, for every kind of reason, both good and bad, are distracting ourselves into spiritual oblivion. We are more busy than bad, more distracted than non-spiritual. We need a Sabbath. And I'm not just talking about a day where you go to Mass. I'm talking about a full day where, yes, you do go to Mass, but a full day where you rest, where you do nothing but things that will give you rest. Like I said, keeping the Sabbath holy is one of the 10 commandments. Commandments, y'all. And that's not just because God is trying to discipline us for discipline's sake, but because he's actually looking out for us. Jesus said that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. The second half of that comment was geared towards the legalistic spiritual leaders of his time, but the first half of that comment is geared toward us today. The Sabbath was made for man. The Sabbath was made for us. It's a gift to us. The Catechism of the Catholic Church says that the Sabbath is a day of protest against the servitude of work and the worship of money. How cool is that? Mwah! I love the Catechism. A day of protest. It's countercultural, it's rebellious, it's good for us. The Catechism also says that the Sabbath is meant to help everyone enjoy adequate rest and leisure to cultivate their familial, cultural, social, and religious lives. Dude, the church wants you to enjoy leisure. Don't fight it. But again, our culture, our society is designed in a way right now that threatens the Sabbath. We live in the most crazy, busy, hectic time of all time. Marketing experts say that the average American sees between 4,000 and 10,000 advertisements every day. Every day, 95 million photos and videos are uploaded to Instagram every day. That's not including Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever else. We're bombarded by messages and frenzy from every waking corner of our lives. And if we think that that doesn't take an effect on our souls, then we're kidding ourselves. We have to fight back. We have to protest. The Sabbath is our battle. And I know that you have a busy life. I'm not going to deny that. But so did Jesus. I mean, when you come down from heaven and you're trying to save the world, that kind of means that you're a busy man. But Jesus always found time to stop and rest. In his book, Leisure, the Basis of Culture, Joseph Pieper talks about how when we rest from work, we're setting apart time for God. And that's what holy means. Holy means to set apart. So to keep the Sabbath holy, we have to keep the Sabbath set apart. In the Old Testament, a space of land was set apart for God's presence, the tabernacle to dwell. And the Sabbath is a space of time for us to set apart, for God's presence to dwell in our lives. We need to keep the Sabbath holy. We need to keep it set apart. And how do we do that? You might be asking yourself, how do I keep the Sabbath holy? How do I do this? Well, I'm so glad you asked, Mr. Self. My wife and I had to take a step back recently and be like, okay, how can we still maintain the Sabbath? How can we still keep it holy? How can we set it apart? How can we still prioritize it? We have two rules: worship God and do things that bring us rest. For us, that looks like getting up, praying, going to Mass, and then going out into the mountains. Sometimes it's the other way around. We'll go out into the mountains and then come back and pray and go to Mass. But we try to put our phones away as much as possible and just enjoy one another. And this has proven to be so fruitful. When you Sabbath well, the rest of your week looks different. And so we've grown closer to each other. We've grown closer to God as a result of this, as to just stopping. And that's what the Sabbath is designed to do. It's designed to help you grow closer to God and to your neighbor. And so these are some of the things that you can do too. While you might not have mountains close to you, you can go outside. You can do things that go and bring you rest. My brother, my sister, you need to rest. You are designed to rest. That means no emails, no grocery shopping, no silent hustling. That means stopping. And that's what Sabbath actually means. The Hebrew word for Sabbath is Shabbat, and it means to cease working, to stopping. John Mark Comer also notes that Shabbat is a verb. In other words, Sabbathing is a practice. It's a skill to hone. So start now. Stop and relax a little. Start by stopping. Start by stopping. And when you do Sabbath, go outside, literally, like I'm doing right now. Come with me. We're going outside. These are things that you can do when you Sabbath. You can go outside. You can pray. You can make a pour over instead of turning on the switch on your coffee machine. You can read a good book. You can turn off the gram. You can make sure your Amazon purchase doesn't come on Sunday. Since when do mailmen come on Sundays? Our world is insane. You can do a little dance move. Here's one. Check that out. You can throw a ball. But most important of them all, that sounds like Dr. Seuss right there, is please do pray and go to Mass. Contemplate good things, do godly things. The more godly things you can do, the more your heart can experience deep rest. The more you can Shabbat well. And when we Shabbat well, the rest of our weeks look different. We look forward to them at the end of the week, and they fill us up at the beginning part of the week. And imagine if you did this. Imagine if you had a day dedicated to God, to living life, to your loved ones. Imagine a day where you planted your flag as a day of protest and allowed the chaos of life to rush past you. Imagine a day where you can just stop. My brothers, my sisters, it's there for the taking. Reach out and grab it. I'm gonna go climb a tree. Oh, I got up there. Ah. I can't climb a tree. That's how you Sabbath, my friends.